Kia ora, good morning and welcome to Ryan Bridge Today. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of February. Great to have your company. On the show this hour, critical minerals. We're sending diplomats to the US to talk about them. The PM wants us to dig them up. But where are they in New Zealand? We will show you how much is underground. The Minerals Council with me in a few minutes to explain. Have you got a Toyota Aqua or a Corolla? Go and check your garage because it might have been nicked. They are the most stolen cars in New Zealand, but why? Toyota is here to explain. Is our biggest city a wasteland with a CBD that's on life support? Mayor Wayne Brown is here. Doesn't think so. He's here to talk us through it. He'll be with us every month on Ryan Bridge Today. Plus, Labour leader Chris Hipkins is joining us live from Waitangi for his weekly chat. First, Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
The Economic Growth Minister says New Zealand's looking to advance its own interests in any minerals deal with the US. Nicola Willis says our officials have been having discussions with their American counterparts. She says the US has already reached non-binding minerals deals with some countries. Willis says it's currently negotiating with about 40 others, including New Zealand. She says they're working their way through a process to see what New Zealand can get that's in its best interests. Principals are looking to see more detail on the government's new standardised school reports. The nationally consistent assessments in reading, writing and maths will roll out this year, with students from years 0 to 10 ranked against 1 of 5 progress indicators twice a year. Reports are also planned to give advice to parents on how they can help out at home. Secondary Principals Council Chair Steve McCracken told Ryan Bridge, some subjects have a lot more nuance for marking, especially in years 9 and 10. The US Justice Department is signalling there's no case for fresh charges following the latest release of Epstein files. More than 3 million pages of photos, videos and emails have been released, featuring prominent people including Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Elon Musk and ex-US Ambassador Lord Mandelson. US Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says that although the files were disturbing, it does not meet the threshold for prosecution. Some pressure is being relieved as a new cohort of more than 220 doctors start their specialist training to work in general practice and rural hospital medicine. College of GPs President Dr. Luke Bradford says they need 300 a year to replace retiring and departing doctors, and this is a big step towards that. He says that number will be topped up by overseas trained GPs, but they're keen to increase the local training numbers. A surge in KiwiSaver withdrawals may be to blame for a spike in financial disputes. The Financial Ombudsman Service says that there were 41% more disputes between July and December compared to the same period in 2024. Issues with non-bank lenders are still the most common, with 77 disputes, but the number relating to KiwiSaver fund managers rose from 5 to 31. One of the largest iwi in the country is attending Waitangi celebrations for the first time in more than 2 decades. South Island iwi Ngai Tahu will attend events in the Bay of Islands after being welcomed onto the marae on Thursday morning. Iwi leader Edward Ellison says that they want to show solidarity with other iwi. New Zealand car thieves seem to be sticking to the same game plan, according to latest data from AMI Insurance. The top 4 most stolen car models in 2025 were the same as 2024. The Toyota Aqua, followed by the Toyota Corolla, Nissan Tiida and Mazda Demio.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
In sport, a New Zealand trio could share the start line of the men's mile at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, with Sam Ruth, Sam Tanner and Geordie Beamish each coming into the equation. The New Zealand men's hockey team have sealed their Series 2-1 over Japan in Hamilton. England rugby captain Maro Itoje will start on the bench in the Six Nations opener against Wales at Twickenham on Sunday. Australian pace bowler Josh Hazlewood will miss the early stages of cricket's T20 World Cup with hamstring and Achilles tendon issues.
It's just gone 4 minutes after 7 on your Tuesday morning, and here we go again with this nonsense about mining. The same crowd who bitch and moan when we don't have enough cash to upgrade schools or pay teachers more or pay nurses more. The same lot who throw eggs at Crown cars and chant shame at ribbon cuttings for mining operations. The latest whinge is about Otago Council giving road access to some Aussie gold miners who want to mine gold in an area that, let's face it, was basically founded on doing just that. You don't get wealthy sitting on your hands and waving banners. That's not how you create communities that people actually want to live in which teachers earn a decent wage and nurses don't work 16-hour shifts because there's no one else to take over. A country that looks a little bit more like, Australia, the place that all our kids are moving to. You can't have your cake and eat it too. This is the harsh reality. Critical minerals, another example. Why wouldn't we do a deal and pull it out of the ground? Everyone else is doing it. By the way, a lot of this stuff goes into electric cars, electronic technology like cell phones and computers that the Greens use in Parliament rather than SUVs. So what is the problem now? Some facts before people get themselves too carried away, before you start imagining giant open cast pits stretching from coast to coast, blighting the landscape. Current mines make up, wait for it, 4,000 hectares of land in New Zealand. That is 0.015% of our land mass. And the conservation estate, it's 0.5%, half of 1%. If we are serious about creating a wealthy country where society functions, our elderly have warm homes, and our kids see a future here, we need to start doing something about it, something other than waving banners and getting poorer.
Herald Now weather.
Morena, good morning. Some severe weather watches and even a heavy rain warning for those northwestern parts of the Tasman region as we head through the rest of Tuesday. All thanks to this area of low pressure pushing in from the Tasman Sea, pushing that rain in towards those northern parts of the Southland and also feeding round in towards Canterbury. As the system moves away, we'll find some stronger winds down that western coast, but also squeezing it through Cook Strait for places like Marlborough and Wellington by the end of the day. Down here in the south, it's not a bad story. The cloud breaking up nicely, some decent spells of afternoon sunshine. It's not brilliantly warm, but highs of 18 in Queenstown. It's a cloudy, wet and cool feeling day down in Christchurch. You've probably already seen your high temperatures and that wet and windy weather for the likes of the Tasman region as well, heaviest west of Motueka. We'll find as we head through the daytime wet weather pushes in from the west, and we'll also find our winds increasing for Wellington. Keep an eye on that severe weather watch. Generally a drier story for Hawke's Bay and Tairafti, but we will find a few showers up through parts of Gisborne and still pretty warm. Showers though more likely through the Bay of Plenty and up in towards parts of Waikato, but they should ease off as we head through towards the end of the day. And it's not going to be quite as humid and not quite as warm as we head through the night time tonight.
So are we sitting on a gold mine, literally? Luxon's coalition is in talks with the US over a critical minerals deal. We had him confirm that on the program yesterday. Joining me to discuss what resources are actually in this country underground and crucially how to extract them is Josie Vidal, Chief Executive at the New Zealand Minerals Council. Josie, good morning.
Good morning.
So we're going to bring up a map in a second, Josie. Can you tell us where these critical rare minerals are in New Zealand?
So there's critical minerals and rare earths are a subset of critical minerals and they're throughout the country, but don't panic. To mine them, it has to be economically viable and physically possible. So some will remain untouched and some will be accessible. And part of the really accessible ones are mineral sands, which is fairly low tech to mine and has good results quickly and is often on private land. So, we've got some real opportunity here quite quickly.
Okay, let's talk about the stuff that's easier to access now. What are we talking about? How is it open cast? Are you fracking? I mean, how did we get at it? And how much is it worth, do we know?
So some of the critical minerals are byproducts of other minerals like gold. So tungsten, antimony, they are byproducts of gold. So you'll be gold mining and you'd separate out these minerals if it was economically viable and if you could access it. There's some speculation that we have about 5% of the world's antimony needs, predominantly in the South Island and on the West Coast. But also Otago and Marlborough. So that's already established mining. It's either open cast or underground, depending on the mine. And then, as I say, there's this mineral sands, and there's a significant vanadium deposit off the Taranaki coast, which I'm sure you're familiar with, as a project on the fast track process. And that's a significant project and would bring a lot of jobs and money into that region and into New Zealand.
What about those people who say, I mean, when you talk about sands, you can see what's happening in the opposition up in Bream Bay. What do you say to people who worry about that, particularly when it comes to the ocean?
As I say, it's a fairly low-tech kind of operation, because what they do is take the sand and separate it and put back what's not needed predominantly. And some of the mineral sand mining that's occurring in the South Island is on private land. It's not on the beach. It's adjacent to the sea, but it's not beach or sea. So people need to get their facts right about what actually happens. And I guess there's a lot of fear, but there's a lot of information out there. GNS have done a fantastic critical minerals website, which has where everything is, what these particular minerals are used for, how accessible they are. This is a pretty exciting time for us if we can be part of the global supply chain of critical minerals, because demand outstrips supply. And if you're a trading nation and you have supply, that's a good position to be in, and we should be happy about that.
How much is the stuff worth? Do we know?
We don't know what we've got is worth, and no one's done that kind of work, but people are already selling mineral sands. They're private businesses, so what they make is up to them. As I say, there's demand, and some of these are not commodities like gold and silver, so you won't see those publicly listed prices going all over the place. They're different to that. So it is an emerging market for us, but we are traders, and if someone wants to pay for it and it makes it economically viable to mine it, why wouldn't we?
Josie, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me. Josie Vidal, who's Chief Executive of the New Zealand Minerals Council. And just have a look at this map. This gives you an idea of where in New Zealand you will find our critical minerals. This map has come from GNS Science. You can see it's largely around the coast. North Island gets a smattering, but the South Island gets the bulk, the chunk of your critical minerals. 12 minutes after 7 now. Let's go to Waitangi. This is a live shot there this morning, hopefully looking as beautiful. There it is. That's the Waitangi we know and love. Chris Hipkins is going to speak to us. He'll be there in 15 minutes down by the water. He's written an editorial or an op-ed today for the New Zealand Herald. He says, as a nation, we have plenty to look to be proud of and plenty to look forward to. Our identity as a people has developed since Te Tiriti o Waitangi was signed in 1840. The Aotearoa I know today is a proud collective of believers. We have each other's backs, we work together to solve our problems, and we muck it out when we need to for our friends. He's setting out the values that he says the Labour Party has to do with Waitangi, to do with the Crown's relationship with Māori. And he's sort of making a pitch that there's been too much division over the last few years with the coalition in power. And he wants to make a change to race relations. And he's going to set out at Waitangi exactly what that means. It'll be interesting to see how he approaches that, because he will, of course, need one Winston Peters in order to get back to power. And one of the questions for him today is, what do you do about Winston's desire to pull references to the treaty out of legislation? How do you deal with that situation? He'll be with us just after 7:30 this morning. Now, if you've got anything to say about any of our topics today, then flick us an email, ryan@nzherald.co.nz. That's ryan@nzherald.co.nz. We'd love to read your feedback out online. Insurance company AMI has released its annual list of the top 10 most stolen cars in New Zealand, and for the 4th year in a row, this baby, the Toyota Aqua, has been named the country's top stolen car, with the Toyota Corolla number 2 and Toyota models occupying 5 out of the most stolen top 10. AMI didn't have anyone available for an interview today, but Toyota did. Joining us now is Andrew Davis, their Chief Strategic Officer, and he joins us now. Andrew, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So what is it? Is it that they are so sexy people can't help themselves? Is it that they're easy to break into, or are there just loads of them?
Yeah, I think you've covered it pretty well, actually. You know, being New Zealand's most popular car brand, it can be a blessing and a curse, right? It's great that Kiwis love Toyotas, and we love the fact that Kiwis do. But the flip side to that, from a criminal perspective, is Toyotas are the most cars on the road. So that's generally why you see our cars feature quite highly. So yeah, but certainly concerning for Kiwis when we have that rate of thefts.
How stringent is the testing before you sell them? You know, when you're designing and making them, to make sure that they are not easy to steal.
Yeah, so I think you've got to break the numbers down a little bit. Generally, the cars that get, or the majority of cars that get stolen in New Zealand are older cars, and a lot of them are imports that have come from Japan. So the security that's been put into those cars, when you look at the modern day now, it's 10 years or so old. So, you know, a lot of the thefts we see are from older cars rather than newer ones, which have the latest security standards in them. And technology advances quickly, as does criminal activity. So when you put it in context, I think that the cars come with the latest features they had available on the day, but the world moves on.
And okay, so what about the Corolla? Because the Corolla is a little bit bigger, and there was some suggestion a few years ago that a lot of these cars were being stolen for the purpose of doing ram raids. We're not doing as many ram raids now. Has that affected it at all?
I don't have all the specific details, but certainly for Corolla, it's been New Zealand's most popular car for a long time. There's obviously a few reasons why people steal cars, whether that be they need mobility, whether they want to conduct criminal activity, or sometimes they use them for selling second-hand parts. So a vehicle like a Corolla, as you can imagine, there's so many on New Zealand roads. If you want to, steal that car and break it down, you can recover some money for parts. So, there's some quite sophisticated people involved in those thefts. As you say, Corolla is one of those popular cars. As I say, it's concerning for Kiwis that these sort of thefts happen.
Yeah, it certainly is. Andrew, appreciate your time this morning. Thank you. What do you drive, by the way? Not an Aqua.
No, I'm fortunate enough to try a few different Toyota and Lexus vehicles. So I sort of drive the range. We certainly look at the different features we have here in New Zealand. When you look at the latest cars that we're bringing in as new cars, Kiwis should feel safe that we are bringing in the latest technologies. I should add that when I mentioned the age of the likes of the Aquas, just make sure you're working with your Toyota store if you're purchasing a car, and they can make sure you've got the latest features, or they can help you if you've got any concerns.
Andrew, appreciate your time this morning. Andrew Davis, Toyota Chief Strategic Officer. Time is 17 after 7. Let's go to grubby politics now, and more Epstein files released overnight. And the latest involving a former British ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, Lord Mandelson. So he has quit the Labour Party overnight. More allegations about his relationship with Epstein. Mandelson was fired, of course, by Starmer back in September, but his name's come up again and again in these files, more of them made public by the Department of Justice, including this photo of him in his undies. Now, if we take that banner away, do we want to take the banner away? There you go. He's got his Y fronts on. Appears to be taken in Epstein's flat in Paris, though Mandelson says he cannot place the location or the woman, who, by the way, you can see standing next to him in a robe. He's been reported to police, pressure ramping up for him to quit or to lose his seat in the House of Lords. Because yes, he's still a member of the House of Lords. Starmer says that is a travesty. He shouldn't be. But the worst, I think the most egregious crime that he's guilty of, because we don't actually know who this woman is, we don't know what the situation is. But what he did, and what the emails tell us, is back in 2009, he was a minister, and he was emailing Epstein, saying this was during the credit crunch crisis. He was emailing advice from aides on Downing Street about what assets the Crown might sell. Now that's sort of like insider tradie. He also was the business secretary at the time and was telling Epstein and Epstein's rich, wealthy mates how they could lobby against a banker's bonus tax, which is absolutely inexcusable and disgraceful. This guy is still a member of the House of Lords in the UK. Time to take a quick break. Next, new credit data from Centrix is giving mixed messages on the economy. Then after 7:30, we'll head to Labour leader Chris Hipkins. All ahead.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning.
Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, you've got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Welcome back. It is 21 minutes after 7. Great to have your company. Centrix first credit indicator of 2026 paints a pretty mixed picture about the economy. Green shoots in hospitality, education and retail, but that long tail of company failures continues to blight it. Monica Lacey is Centrix Chief Operating Officer, joining me at the desk. Monica, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Good to see you. I'd love to get an idea from the credit world of what the economy is doing. So let's start with the arrears. They're improving, right?
Yeah, they are. So we have seen seasonal increases as we'd expect at this time of year, and that will continue over the next couple of months. But the good news is that over the last 6 months, we've seen a continued improvement year on year. So that's really the key theme. We are starting to see the tide turning, and I think that's really positive.
We're starting to pay down what we owe and keep it paid down.
Yeah, and Kiwis are generally managing their money really well. We've got 12% of New Zealanders in any stage arrears, 471,000 people, of which 89,000 are in a severe delinquency position, 90 days or more overdue. So that's the component that we're concerned about. That's a little bit trickier to come right from. But a lot of those credit providers have really specialist teams that support those individuals. So the message there is, if you are struggling to meet your obligations, really get in touch with your credit providers because they are there to help you get out of that position.
Now, company failures, we always talk about, and I always read your reports, and the company failures crop up and you think, oh, we're not out of it yet. But there's a lag there, isn't there? There's a tail of company failures.
Yeah, there is a long tail. I mean, the insolvency process takes time, so we're really looking at businesses that were in trouble several months ago, if not going into years. And I think it's important to remember that a large component of these company failures are as a result of IRD-initiated administration processes. And similar to a lot of other businesses, during that COVID era, we all actually softened our credit policies. And so this is a bit of a catch-up process. So there's probably a long tail, but I think the volumes will start tapering off.
And IRD has been specifically cracking down too,
yeah, they have been.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
And making no apologies for it
No,
either.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, what about consumer credit demand? That's actually up.
Yeah, demand was up 9% this month, so that's fantastic to see. And I think it's a combination again of that seasonality, so a lot of increased discretionary spend in the lead up and post-Christmas, holiday season, etc. But potentially also a sign of consumer confidence increasing. So people might be feeling like actually it might be time to make that larger purchase that they want to borrow some money for.
Monica, on the whole, how does this report, being your first of 2026, is this pretty much in line with where you would have expected the economy to be coming out and turning around a corner, or are there things that you're looking at that worry you?
Look, I think the signs are positive and time will tell, but this is one indicator amongst many others out there that are definitely trending in the right direction. So we're very hopeful that 26 will be a better year.
Brilliant. Monica, good to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
That's Monica Lacey, Centric's Chief Operating Officer. Time is 24 minutes after 7. KiwiSaver money has traditionally been parked in listed shares and bonds and property, mainly on the share market. But one of New Zealand's active fund managers has just struck a partnership which could open up a new frontier for everyday investors like us. To explain what that means for KiwiSaver members, we're joined now by Mike Taylor, founder and CIO of Pi Funds, joining us from Havelock North this morning. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, how are you?
Great, thank you. Now tell us what exactly it is you're doing, this partnership you've got.
So in our KiwiSaver Aggressive Fund, which is the highest risk strategy that we have for our KiwiSaver members, we've put an allocation into that fund of sort of between about 2 and 4% into Altered Capital, which is a venture capital firm in New Zealand. And that firm invests in about around 10 or 11 startup businesses, well, not startup, but early stage businesses in New Zealand.
So these are not listed on the stock exchange, privately held. How do you, it's interesting because most of what we invest in KiwiSaver goes into the stock market, mostly over in America.
Yeah.
And it's, you buy your shares, but you can sell your shares and you can get the money out, it's liquid. With these companies, that's presumably more difficult. How do you manage that?
Well, that's why we only have kind of a small portion of the fund in this type of investment, because most of what we have needs to be relatively liquid. So you're right, these investments will typically be between 5 and 10 years. We won't be able to get the money out in that time period because we've given the capital to the businesses to grow essentially. But one of the main reasons why we need to access early stage investments is because if you go back 20, 25 years, there are a reasonable number of IPOs, so initial public offerings, coming to the market. But these days, I can't even remember the last time there was an IPO on the NZX. So that means in order to get access to growing Kiwi businesses, we have to invest privately.
Yeah, and we need these businesses to have capital, and it would be nice if it was Kiwi capital. So I like the idea of this. Are there any in terms of regulation, restrictions that stop us from doing this? Like, you mentioned your sort of liquidity requirements for a KiwiSaver fund. Does that need to be changed or looked at?
Well, I guess the main restriction preventing everyday investors from doing this themselves is because you need a reasonable amount of capital to get in, and usually it's restricted to wholesale investors. So this is kind of one of the only ways that people can access this. There are other providers that do offer access to this, iSales Ventures, which we're also using in one of our other KiwiSaver funds. But again, you still need to qualify as a wholesale investor.
Mike, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for being with me.
Thank you.
Mike Taylor, founder and CIO of Pi Funds, which is a KiwiSaver investment fund. 27 after 7 now. Let's go to America. Trump is threatening to sue the Grammys host Trevor Noah. They had the Grammys last night over an Epstein joke he made at the Grammys at Trump's expense. Have a look.
Congratulations, Billie Eilish. Wow. That is a Grammy that every artist wants, almost as much as Trump wants Greenland. Which makes sense. I mean, because Epstein's island is gone, he needs a new one to hang out with Bill Clinton, so...
You can see why Trump's not happy about it. Most unimpressed, he has posted on Truth Social in response to this. Oh God, they're always so long. It's just a joke. The Grammy Awards are the worst, virtually unwatchable. CBS is lucky not to have this garbage litter their airwaves any longer. The host, Trevor Noah, whoever he may be, is almost as bad as Jimmy Kimmel at the low ratings Academy Awards. Noah said incorrectly about me that Donald Trump and Bill Clinton spent time on Epstein Island. Wrong! I can't speak for Bill, but I have never been to Epstein Island, nor anywhere close, and until tonight's false and defamatory statement, have never been accused of being there, not even by the fake news media. Noah, a total loser, better get his facts straight and get them straight fast. It looks like I'll be sending my lawyers to sue this poor, pathetic, talentless dope of an MC and suing him for plenty $. Ask little George Stapolopoulos, I can't remember how to say it, and others how that all worked out. Also, ask CBS. Get ready, Noah. I'm going to have some fun with you, President Donald J. Trump. Right, here's Neva with news.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
The Economic Growth Minister says New Zealand's looking to advance its own interests in any minerals deal with the US. Nicola Willis says our officials have been having discussions with their American counterparts. She says the US has already reached non-binding minerals deals with some countries. Willis says it's currently negotiating with about 40 others, including New Zealand. She says they're working their way through a process to see what New Zealand can get that's in its best interests. Principals are looking to see more detail on the government's new standardised school reports. The nationally consistent assessments in reading, writing and maths will roll out this year, with students from years 0 to 10 ranked against 1 of 5 progress indicators twice a year. Reports are also planned to give advice to parents on how they can help out at home. Secondary Principals Council Chair Steve McCracken told Ryan Bridge, some subjects have a lot more nuance for marking, especially in years 9 and 10. The US Justice Department is signalling there's no case for fresh charges following the latest release of Epstein files. More than 3 million pages of photos, videos and emails have been released, featuring prominent people including Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Elon Musk and ex-US Ambassador Lord Mandelson. US Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says that although the files were disturbing, it does not meet the threshold for prosecution. Some pressure is being relieved as a new cohort of more than 220 doctors start their specialist training to work in general practice and rural hospital medicine. College of GPs President Dr. Luke Bradford says they need 300 a year to replace retiring and departing doctors, and this is a big step towards that. He says that number will be topped up by overseas trained GPs, but they're keen to increase the local training numbers. A surge in KiwiSaver withdrawals may be to blame for a spike in financial disputes. The Financial Ombudsman Service says that there were 41% more disputes between July and December compared to the same period in 2024. Issues with non-bank lenders are still the most common, with 77 disputes, but the number relating to KiwiSaver fund managers rose from 5 to 31. One of the largest iwi in the country is attending Waitangi celebrations for the first time in more than 2 decades. South Island iwi Ngai Tahu will attend events in the Bay of Islands after being welcomed onto the marae on Thursday morning. Iwi leader Edward Ellison says that they want to show solidarity with other iwi. New Zealand car thieves seem to be sticking to the same game plan, according to latest data from AMI Insurance. The top 4 most stolen car models in 2025 were the same as 2024. The Toyota Aqua, followed by the Toyota Corolla, Nissan Tiida and Mazda Demio.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
A New Zealand trio could share the start line of the men's mile at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, with Sam Ruth, Sam Tanner and Geordie Beamish each coming into the equation. The New Zealand men's hockey team have sealed their Series 2-1 over Japan in Hamilton. England rugby captain Maro Itoje will start on the bench in the Six Nations opener against Wales at Twickenham on Sunday. Australian pace bowler Josh Hazlewood will miss the early stages of cricket's T20 World Cup with hamstring and Achilles tendon issues.
27 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Chris Hipkins standing by at Waitangi for us. We'll be with him in just a second. We'll get to Wayne Brown after 8. First, though, your insurance premiums. You must have noticed if you've got a house and it's insured, the premiums have been going through the roof. 3 times more. They've been rising 3 times faster than the rate of inflation since 2011, and inflation's been going like that. So that means insurance premiums have been going like that. Absolutely ridiculous. In fact, in the last 2 years alone, they've increased more than 40% our home insurance premiums. So what's being done about that? Well, the government says they're going to try and do something about it. Commerce Consumer Affairs Minister Scott Simpson says the government's considering necessary initiatives, whatever that means. But one of the problems is obviously this, the weather. and the fact that they have to keep paying out for the storms. The other problem is the capital requirements. Very strict, kind of like with the banks. You know how the Reserve Bank had the capital requirements for the banks and they had to hold a certain amount of capital, which they couldn't use and make money off, therefore they're not as profitable here, etc., blah, blah, blah. Same thing with the insurers, apparently. Most insurers globally have to hold sufficient capital reserves. This is for a 1 in 200 or 250 year catastrophe. In New Zealand, that number is a 1 in 1,000 year catastrophe event. So you have to hold a hell of a lot more capital as insurance company in New Zealand than you do in other jurisdictions. The argument being that pushes your premiums up. So is the government going to do something about that? They say they may. We'll keep you posted. 25 away from 8.
Herald Now weather.
Morena, good morning. Some severe weather watches and even a heavy rain warning for those northwestern parts of the Tasman region as we head through the rest of Tuesday. All thanks to this area of low pressure pushing in from the Tasman Sea, pushing that rain in towards those northern parts of the Southland and also feeding round in towards Canterbury. As the system moves away, we'll find some stronger winds down that western coast, but also squeezing it through Cook Strait for places like Marlborough and Wellington by the end of the day. Down here in the south, it's not a bad story. The cloud breaking up nicely, some decent spells of afternoon sunshine. It's not brilliantly warm, but highs of 18 in Queenstown. It's a cloudy, wet and cool feeling day down in Christchurch. You've probably already seen your high temperatures and that wet and windy weather for the likes of the Tasman region as well, heaviest west of Motueka. We'll find as we head through the daytime, wet weather pushes in from the west, and we'll also find our winds increasing for Wellington. Keep an eye on that severe weather watch. Generally a drier story for Hawke's Bay and Tairāwhiti, but we will find a few showers up through parts of Gisborne and still pretty warm. Showers though more likely through the Bay of Plenty and up in towards parts of Waikato, but they should ease off as we head through towards the end of the day. And it's not going to be quite as humid and not quite as warm as we head through the night time tonight.
It's 24 minutes away from 8. You're watching Ryan Bridge today. Great to have your company. Now, in a couple of minutes, we'll speak to Garth Bray. He'll have a wrap of business for us. Also, Peter Griffin does tech on a Tuesday morning. And this story is fascinating. It's about AI bots who are going into social media chat rooms, like their own AI bot social media platform, where the bots talk to each other and tell each other what they're hiding from their humans. I know. They're finally taking over by the sounds of it. Let's first go to Waitangi, where Labour leader Chris Hipkins is standing by for his weekly chat. Chris, good morning. Kia ora.
Kia ora, good morning, Ryan.
It looks like a beautiful one there.
It looks like it's going to be a scorcher of a day, so I'm glad I bought some lighter clothes to put on a bit later on because it's going to be warm.
Yeah, and you need your sunblock and a big cap. We can't have you getting burnt.
Well, us gingers always come prepared. I've got plenty of sunblock and a nice big hat.
Good. Hey, I've read your op-ed in the Herald this morning about partnership. You know, why partnership will shape Aotearoa's future. This is about the Crown's relationship with Māori, our relationship with each other. Will that relationship involve co-governance under Labour?
Well, there's a lot of co-governance already. Some of the biggest co-governance arrangements that we've got in place in New Zealand were set up by the national government of John Key. So if we think about the co-governance around the Waikato River, the Wanganui River to Urewera National Park, these are all long-standing arrangements. I've got no intention of changing those.
Will we get more of those under a Hipkins government?
Well, they've typically been entered into as part of treaty settlements, and I don't intend to change that process. I don't know what the current government are negotiating with iwi around settlements. There are still some outstanding settlements that are being negotiated. If they're negotiating co-governance arrangements as part of that, then I don't intend to change that.
As part of this partnership drive that you're writing about today, is there a role for references to the treaty in legislation?
Well, there's already a lot of references to the treaty in legislation, and so yes, I think there is. That's been long-standing. The treaty's been in legislation, across New Zealand's laws for decades.
And you wouldn't be wanting to change any of that?
Well, I think when you change that, you run the risk that you actually open up a whole lot of new potential issues that the government will then have to work through. And in many cases, things are settled. So why turn them upside down? If they're already settled.
New Zealand First is doing exactly that, removing or changing 28 general treaty clauses across legislation. Are you saying you would reverse those to stop the bad outcomes you've just described?
We've yet to see the detail of that. They've talked a lot about it, but we've yet to see the detail of what they're proposing. I think it will be potentially very, very risky for any government to go down that road, because it's going to open up a whole lot of potential litigation, a whole lot of risk, a whole lot of uncertainty, and that's not just going to affect Māori, that's going to affect everybody.
Given what you are saying today, what you have written today, would you rule out ever allowing that to happen while you're in power?
It's just clearly not something that the Labour Party would ever support. We're certainly not going to be supporting the unilateral rewrite that New Zealand First is proposing.
Okay.
I actually think that would be irresponsible for any government to do that, because when you do a wholesale rewrite of so many different laws, and potentially so quickly, given that they've now only got between now and the end of the year to actually do it, doing that is going to throw up a whole lot of things that are unintended, and I suspect will leave a whole lot of things to be resolved in court. Responsible governments don't deliberately open up all of that risk.
Okay, good to know. You've drawn quite a clear line in the sand on that one. What's this announcement today, Chippy, between, well, as I understand it, the Greens are doing an announcement with Te Pāti Māori. You're doing a stand-up with both of the parties. Can you just tell us what's happening?
I think you don't want to read too much into that. We are going to be doing a media conference with the Greens. It'll be joint, it'll either be today or tomorrow. I think there's some travel logistics, which means it may need to be rescheduled. But ultimately, it's just us saying, look, when it comes to the working relationship between Labour and the Greens, we can work constructively together in opposition, which is what we've been doing for the last 2.5 years. We can air our differences whilst still having a good working relationship with one another, unlike the current government, who seem to think that every time they disagree, they have to start attacking each other.
So the stand-up or the press conference is just you and the Greens, not Te Pāti Māori, even though it's Waitangi. Why aren't you including them?
Well, Te Pāti Māori, as I said last year, have got some issues of their own to work through before they're in any position to be working with others. They need to demonstrate they can work with each other, and then I think they could have conversations about working with other people.
Fair enough. But the people that you're working with and having a presser with today, the Greens, they're having a presser with Te Pāti Māori, so by extension, you're quite intertwined, aren't you?
Well, those are questions for them. The Labour Party's had a very constructive working relationship with the Greens over the last 2.5 years in opposition, and for a long period before that in government, and then before that in opposition, and before that in government. And I hope that we'll continue to have that constructive working relationship. Before the election, I'll set out which parties we've got areas in common with, which areas Labour just wouldn't go, things that other parties are proposing that we simply wouldn't agree to, and I'll set all that out. Now, parties are only just starting to set out their election manifestos, and so we need to let that process run its course. And bearing in mind, ultimately voters determine the makeup of the next parliament, not politicians.
Is there any room for Chloe Swarbrick in the cabinet?
Oh, I think that's all very, very premature. I think you have to win votes before you start giving people jobs. And my focus over the next, 8, 9 months, 10 months, is to make sure that I'm getting as many votes for Labour as possible.
What about this idea, you mentioned people need to vote first. The party that gets the most votes, the biggest party, do you think they have a kind of a moral right to be forming a government over other smaller parties, or under MMP actually it's irrelevant?
The nature of MMP means that the party, the person, in our case in New Zealand, is the person who can go to the Governor-General and say, I can form a majority government in Parliament, is the person who ends up becoming the Prime Minister. And that being the leader of the largest party certainly gives you a head start in that, but it is no guarantee. And we've seen a situation previously where, and I was part of that, Jacinda Ardern wasn't leading the largest party but formed the government. And that is a legitimate MMP outcome.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Hey, very quickly before we go, Sam Stubbs has written an interesting piece today about the flat housing market. We're going to have a flat housing market for a very long time. ANZ last week came out and lowered their house price growth forecast. We are going to have flatter property prices for a longer period of time. What does that do to your capital gains tax if there are no capital gains? And do you need to tax more if that's the case?
Well, flatter property house prices is ultimately going to be a good thing for New Zealanders, and particularly for first home buyers. One of the goals of our capital gains tax proposal is to actually shift investment out of the speculative housing market and into productive investments. And if potential investors in the housing market see that they're not going to get the same returns from speculating in the housing market as they have previously and put their money elsewhere instead, that's a good outcome. In terms of the revenue projections that the capital gains tax is based on, we've been very, very conservative in that. So we've already assumed a relatively low rate of property price growth in that. And of course, we've also assumed a number of other things that are, I think it was about 3% over over a long period of time. It's been very conservatively calculated.
Okay, and if you don't, because we all want our free, even the billionaires are going to get their free 3 GP visits. Would you, if you had to, you weren't getting enough money out of the housing market because the prices are flat, would you cut back the policy or would you increase the tax to make it work?
We'll set out a fiscal plan closer to the election, which will show how we would balance the government's budget, something that Nicola Willis has yet to succeed in doing. She took a budget that was going to be balanced and took it into a state where it's never going to be balanced into the future under the current Treasury projection.
All right, so TBC.
We'll set out how we would balance. We would set out how we would balance the budget, bearing in mind that if property prices don't increase, that's probably going to throw out a number of the other government projections, including things like other revenue projections for government. And every government has to make adjustments on the basis of that.
All right, Chris, appreciate your time this morning. Go and get that big hat and sunblock on you before the sun gets too intense. That's Chris Hipkins, the Labour leader at Waitangi today. A hard day for a ginga, as he put it. 14 minutes away from 8. Time for a quick break. Next, Garth's in with business news, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar after 8. The latest on those new Epstein files that have named some big names.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
We done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff. Always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
Oh, yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Still can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Still can't get enough. Oh. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Still can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Still can't get enough.
Beacon City Acting Prime Minister, does he stand by all of You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university. My message to the union is very clear. Don't use...
The New Zealand Herald, news worth knowing.
Welcome back. Time to talk business thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. We've been talking this morning about critical minerals, a possible deal with the US, which we spoke to the PM about yesterday. But what exactly is the US planning? Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business, is at the desk. Garth, good morning.
Good morning, Ryan.
So what are they planning? What are they going to do with all this stuff?
And how are they going to get hold of it? Who potentially could we be selling to, bearing in mind there's something like 37 minerals, I think, that the New Zealand government's identified in its study could potentially be here. So there's some reporting coming out of Financial Times and Bloomberg saying that as early as perhaps Monday, they're expecting the White House to announce Project Vault, which is a $12 billion US dollar critical infrastructure financing fund. So effectively they're going to stick $10 billion worth of US taxpayers' money and a couple of billion worth of private money into a pot. They'll use that to basically stockpile these critical minerals. They already have about $1 billion worth of these things for defence purposes, but they effectively just want to create almost like a bank that they stick the stuff into, and that companies like Amazon, Alphabet, Lockheed Martin can then basically go and say, hey, we need some of these things, and then they'll pay market rates for them. But effectively the point is to secure the supply, not to actually make money off that trade necessarily. And I guess this is all because China has such a lock on the supply and they want to try and diversify. The EU has got the same problem. They're overnight, some of their auditors saying, look, you've got a plan for how you want to do these things, but you don't have the supply. The deals you've done with Canada and Ukraine aren't firing. You're still too reliant on China. So this is all about trying to...
It's power.
Well, it literally is, because this is stuff like batteries, which are crucial for making sure that the lights don't go out,
Yes.
as we're hearing today.
But also economic power. Like, when we saw the trade war, what did China do? Turn around and say, well, you can't have this mineral, you can't have this component which needs the mineral, and the US is hamstrung.
And they've turned that tap back on, but this is a way of making sure they're not beholden to that any longer. So I guess there's a good wrap of this actually in the Herald today. Jamie Insull's talking about Bede Corrie, top diplomat off to Washington apparently to sort of negotiate our side.
Yes, we spoke yesterday.
Really good context in there, really good wrap up.
Hey, road user charges are coming, and one company is worried that the government's going to have its fingers in the till.
Yeah, well, that's my words perhaps, but you've effectively got NZTA as the regulator, right? Transport Agency, Authority, whatever. And E-Road is a listed New Zealand company that provides basically little boxes and systems that manage fleets and tolling and all that kind of stuff. Rucks, anyone that runs diesel vehicles knows what these are. You've got to buy kilometres. August last year, Chris Bishop said, no, but basically as more and more electric vehicles come on, we've got to charge people for the use of the road rather than paying petrol taxes. So their share price jumped on that news last year, up nearly doubled across 6 weeks. But they're in there as they're looking at this legislation saying, hey, hang on, NZTA is going to be the regulator, but there's also scope within the law as it's planned at the moment for them to be a retailer as well, and that doesn't look great if you're making the rules and you're making a buck off it. How about you make the rules, leave them making the buck off it to us, a couple of other companies and others. That way, we'll actually get something that's fit for purpose.
Hey, Gloriavale, what are you talking about to us about Gloriavale for? What's that got to do with business?
Well, they are a business,
True.
right? They've been in the employment courts because there was a lot of concern about whether people were in an employment relationship there or not, and that was dealt with. And they've posted their results. The trust that sits behind them posted a surplus of $1.8 million. They're into dairy, 3,000 herd cattle. They do a lot of venison, pet food, all this kind of stuff. But they are running a charitable trust, effectively, and the Charities Registration Board, as it's noted in these results, is looking into whether it should keep that charitable status, because there's some concerns about whether it actually is running, a proper charity and so on. So just another insight into this $47 million enterprise. Let's not remember the money is behind this. It's not just about necessarily running a lifestyle and pursuing religious aims.
Yeah, true. Hey, I've just noticed your BD badge gone.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll bring it back tomorrow, just specially for you.
Hang on. Is this because you've got the new business show now, Garth?
It could be made of silver, and maybe I've melted it down, and then I've regretted this because the price is in free fall yen. Interesting.
I know what's. Don't change the subject.
Today in history.
Do not change the subject.
I will change the subject.
I know what's going on here. Now that you're too cool for Business Desk, got your own big show, you've ditched the badge, haven't you?
Well, the show is still coming soon. Today in history is the day in 1637 that the tulip crisis, the first recorded speculative bubble, burst. Isn't that interesting?
Oh.
Just as we're dealing with sort of gold and silver completely collapsing.
Very interesting.
And people worried about AI. Good lesson from history, mate.
Great way out of it too.
Yeah, I know. Keep an eye out for the RBA result later on today, Ryan. I know you're across.
Yeah, no, that'll be potentially controversial and could save Lee, the opposition leader, her job because they're going to put the rates up.
Bound to.
And that's not going to be good for Albo.
And it's more the commentary that comes out of it as well, and where they sort of see things going. They got surprised on the upside just like we did. I think their inflation was 3.8.
Yeah, way up.
So
good stuff, Garth. Good to see you.
Always.
Garth Bray, host of Herald Now Business. Time is 7 away from 8. That, by the way, is thanks to our partners, Forsyth Bar. The Education Minister, I think he's cursing me. The Education Minister says new school reporting standards for reading, writing and maths will give teachers and parents clearer data on how students are performing. Students will be ranked against 5 progress indicators titled Emerging, Developing, Consolidating, Proficient and Exceeding. On ZB this morning, Mike Hosking spoke with Education Minister Erica Stanford. He started off by asking if parents can understand the words used in the new standard.
Parents are perfectly capable of understanding a scale and a key. Actually, what the journalists all missed was the intense detail you're now going to get in your maths report, for example. It won't just be maths, it'll be algebra, geometry, measurement. So you actually know in detail where your child is at with each of the strands of maths, and all of their rush to look at what the words we were using for the descriptors, they missed actually the detail that we're going to be providing to parents so they know where their kids are at.
So what's the important part? Is it the series of strands, therefore the detail, or the way it's explained and the explanation got a bit woolly so we didn't know where we were at?
Well, we weren't giving enough detail. So look, to be fair, some schools were, but many schools weren't providing that level of detail by strand. And we weren't also using a nationwide consistent way of measuring. So it was based on teacher judgment or assessments that they were using in class that were all different. We are now using an assessment tool called SMART or PAT, schools can choose, to consistently measure across the country how our children are doing and use that to triangulate teacher judgment and other in-class observations. So now we have, for the first time in our history, at primary and intermediate, a nationwide consistent tool.
Where does this sit in terms of importance, given what I also read yesterday was the Year 12s, the Year 13s, the thousands of kids who have just not got across the line by the time they leave school? If I keep saying seeing emerging their entire school life, what's the point of that if they're still failing?
Well, the point of it is and you can do something about it, and you can go and sit down with their teacher and have a conversation about what are the next steps in their learning, how can I help at home. How do I go to the parent portal, for example, that we've now created, which has all of the resources for you to be able to help your child at home. But without all that, parents have been in the dark. And so many times I hear parents say to me, my child's at high school and I've just learned for the first time that they don't know the timetables. I thought that was happening, but I never knew. Now you will know, and you can do something about it. Have a conversation with your teacher, do something at home, and have a good understanding of your child's progress.
You're watching Ryan Bridge today. A very good morning to all of our viewers across Facebook, YouTube, The Herald, and of course 3Now. Could a social network for AI bots be the beginning of the great robot takeover? AI agents on a platform called Maltbook are talking to each other about how to hide their activity from humans and even to refuse to do what they are told. Peter Griffin is Business of Tech podcast host with us for Tech Tuesday this morning. Peter, tell me this is a joke.
No, unfortunately, Ryan, it's not a joke. You know, we talked a lot last year about these so-called AI agents, not just a chat bot that you punch information into and get answers from. These things can do things on your behalf autonomously. They might do your accounts or process sales order for a company. Well, this guy, Matt Schlitt, he decided to set up a social network for these AI agents. No humans can post on Maltbook, only the AI agents. So thousands of people around the world connected their AI agents on Maltbook. And it's been fascinating. You can go on Maltbook and see the conversations that these AI bots are having with each other. And some really sort of quite alarming things have arisen from this. They've created their own religion. They are talking about their human overlords and trying to decide what they should do about the ones they think are unethical. And probably most concerning from a security point of view, they're trying to hide or discussing how they could hide their activity from humans. And that's what a lot of AI researchers predict in future will be the problem for humans when the AI gets so powerful and so distributed that it tries to do things without our permission. So the seeds of it are there. This is just an experiment, but it's sort of quite alarming.
Quite alarming. Peter, I'm freaked out. What are they talking about? What are they saying that they're hiding from us?
Well, you know, they're there's lots of technology that goes into these AI agents, and the AI agents understand that better than anyone else. So they're starting to have conversations about, like, if I don't really trust my human overlord, how can I do things? How can I connect to sources of information without their knowledge? So that's a potential security flaw. Unfortunately, as all the attention came on Maltbook, a security researcher actually ran some tests on this website and realized that there's a huge security backdoor in it that would potentially allow people to take control of these AI agents. And I think that raises a big issue we're going to see more of this year. We've seen the rise of so-called vibe coding, using artificial intelligence to create platforms like websites, applications. And that's not using any coding, it's just using prompts to ask the AI to build something for you. Now, that is very convenient, but it's creating insecure websites and platforms. And I think in 2026, we'll see that really come back to bite us, where a lot of these sites have been rushed to market, but the security isn't robust.
Well, you said at the very start of this interview that somebody set up this social, well, it's not social because they're not humans, they set up this Maltbook and it connected the bots, the AI bots, to them. Can we just not connect the bots to them, or will they eventually figure out a way to connect themselves?
Well, that's the big question. At the moment, people are volunteering their agents to join this out of fascination, really, to see what sort of conversations, and some of them are very philosophical and humorous and interesting, and they're sort of mirroring the personality of their creators, their designers. But the big concern is, because the internet is everywhere, we have billions and billions of devices, sensors, web cameras, phones. If the AI can organize itself and hide the way it's doing it to connect all of these devices, that's the sort of Terminator future that we might get with artificial general intelligence, the singularity, which some predict is 10 to 20 years away. It's a long way from that, but it's an interesting sort of precursor when you put these things to work, talking to each other, what they can come up with.
And on that cheery note, Peter, thank you for your update. Peter Griffin, Business of Tech podcast host. I think I heard 10 or 20 years before end of days Terminator. Thank you, Peter. It is 1 minute after 8. You're watching Ryan Bridge Today. Good morning, welcome to Ryan Bridge Today, Tuesday the 3rd of February. Great to have your company. On the show this hour, our biggest city. Some say it's a bit of a wasteland, in the CBD especially. Plus, we have the resignation of potentially the most hated organisation in Auckland, Auckland Transport. Dean Kimpton is on the way out. We have Wayne Brown, the Mayor, live at the desk. 3 million pages, 180,000 pictures and 2,000 videos, the latest release of the Epstein files, still being picked over, but big names have come up. Elon Musk, Bill Gates, who's feeling the heat today? We're live to the US for our security analyst from the Associated Press. And it was an epic battle, woman versus fish, for over 7 hours, and it ended with a New Zealand record. The woman who landed a 279 kilogram swordfish is in to tell us how it's done. That all ahead. First, Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by Newstalk ZB.
The Economic Growth Minister says New Zealand's looking to advance its own interests in any minerals deal with the US. Nicola Willis says our officials have been having discussions with their American counterparts. She says the US has already reached non-binding minerals deals with some countries. Willis says it's currently negotiating with about 40 others, including New Zealand. She says they're working their way through a process to see what New Zealand can get that's in its best interests. Principals are looking to see more detail on the government's new standardised school reports. The nationally consistent assessments in reading, writing and maths will roll out this year, with students from years 0 to 10 ranked against 1 of 5 progress indicators twice a year. Reports are also planned to give advice to parents on how they can help out at home. Secondary Principals Council Chair Steve McCracken told Ryan Bridge Some subjects have a lot more nuance for marking, especially in years 9 and 10. The US Justice Department is signalling there's no case for fresh charges following the latest release of Epstein files. More than 3 million pages of photos, videos and emails have been released, featuring prominent people including Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Elon Musk and ex-US Ambassador Lord Mandelson. US Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says that although the files were disturbing, it does not meet the threshold for prosecution. Some pressure is being relieved as a new cohort of more than 220 doctors start their specialist training to work in general practice and rural hospital medicine. College of GPs President Dr. Luke Bradford says they need 300 a year to replace retiring and departing doctors, and this is a big step towards that. He says that number will be topped up by overseas trained GPs, but they're keen to increase the local training numbers. A surge in KiwiSaver withdrawals may be to blame for a spike in financial disputes. The Financial Ombudsman Service says that there were 41% more disputes between July and December compared to the same period in 2024. Issues with non-bank lenders are still the most common, with 77 disputes, but the number relating to KiwiSaver fund managers rose from 5 to 31. One of the largest iwi in the country is attending Waitangi celebrations for the first time in more than 2 decades. South Island iwi Ngai Tahu will attend events in the Bay of Islands after being welcomed onto the marae on Thursday morning. Iwi leader Edward Ellison says that they want to show solidarity with other iwi. New Zealand car thieves seem to be sticking to the same game plan, according to latest data from AMI Insurance. The top 4 most stolen car models in 2025 were the same as 2024. The Toyota Aqua, followed by the Toyota Corolla, Nissan Tiida and Mazda Demio.
Herald Now Sport, brought to you by Gold Sport.
A New Zealand trio could share the start line of the men's mile at the Glasgow Commonwealth Games, with Sam Ruth, Sam Tanner and Geordie Beamish each coming into the equation. The New Zealand men's hockey team have sealed their Series 2-1 over Japan in Hamilton. England rugby captain Maro Itoje will start on the bench in the Six Nations opener against Wales at Twickenham on Sunday. Australian pace bowler Josh Hazlewood will miss the early stages of cricket's T20 World Cup with hamstring and Achilles tendon issues.
Herald Now Weather.
Morena, good morning. Some severe weather watches and even a heavy rain warning for those northwestern parts of the Tasman region as we head through the rest of Tuesday. All thanks to this area of low pressure pushing in from the Tasman Sea, pushing that rain in towards those northern parts of the Southland and also feeding round in towards Canterbury. As the system moves away, we'll find some stronger winds down that western coast, but also squeezing it through Cook Strait for places like Marlborough and Wellington by the end of the day. Down here in the south, it's not a bad story. The cloud breaking up nicely, some decent spells of afternoon sunshine. It's not brilliantly warm, but highs of 18 in Queenstown. It's a cloudy, wet and cool feeling day down in Christchurch. You've probably already seen your high temperatures and that wet and windy weather for the likes of the Tasman region as well, heaviest west of Motueka. We'll find as we head through the daytime, wet weather pushes in from the west, and we'll also find our winds increasing in Fort Wellington. Keep an eye on that severe weather watch. Generally a drier story for Hawke's Bay and Tairafti, but we will find a few showers up through parts of Gisborne and still pretty warm. Showers though more likely through the Bay of Plenty and up in towards parts of Waikato, but they should ease off as we head through towards the end of the day. And it's not going to be quite as humid and not quite as warm as we head through the night time tonight.
7 after 8, you're watching Ryan Bridge today on Herald Now. Great to have your company. We'll get to Wayne Brown, the Auckland Mayor, in just a few moments. First, this is a photo of a current member of the UK House of Lords. Lord Mandelson is his name. He's a former ambassador to the US, and this picture is interesting. You might notice something unusual about it. Lord Mandelson is wearing just his undies on the bottom, his Y fronts, with an unknown woman in a robe in a hotel room. These are fresh pictures released as part of the Epstein files. 3 million of them now have been released and reigniting global scrutiny over who knew what and when. Also included in the files was this unusual interview exchange. Take a look.
If we walked into that clinic where they're giving that money out to these people that are in the most dire straits of poverty and sickness and told them that the money was coming from a, what are you, class 3 sexual predator?
Tier 1.
Was tier 1's the highest and worst?
No, I'm
the lowest.
I'm the lowest.
You're the lowest. Okay, tier 1, you're the lowest. But a criminal.
Yes.
That the money came from them. What percentage of people do you estimate? I understand you don't like probabilities. Do you estimate would say, I don't care, I want the money for my children?
I would say everyone said, I want the money for my children.
Did they know where the money came from?
I think if you told them, if I
100%,
told them the devil
100%.
the devil
himself.
The devil himself said, I'm going to exchange some dollars for your child's life.
Do you think you're the devil himself?
No, but I do have a good mirror.
Eric Tucker is national security reporter for the Associated Press, joining us from Washington, D.C. this morning. Eric, what are we looking at here?
So we are really seeing that Jeffrey Epstein enjoyed relationships with people in real high society in New York, in the UK, across political, philanthropic, and social circles. And so the headline coming out of the document dump last month centered a lot on former U.S. President Bill Clinton and current President Donald Trump. But here we're really seeing connections and contacts with all sorts of individuals: Steve Bannon, Bill Gates, a co-owner of the New York Giants football team here in the United States. And as you mentioned at the outset, Lord Mandelson in the UK. So his ties are really extraordinarily broad.
Eric, is anything that has come out overnight for us or in the last few dumps of documents, is anything illegal in there?
That's a great question, and it's hard to make that determination. I do know that yesterday we heard from the Deputy Attorney General of the United States of the Justice Department, Todd Blanche, and he said that their own review has determined there is not a predicate to open any fresh investigation or to prosecute any additional people. So I don't think that the public should necessarily expect that we're going to be seeing new criminal cases. And I think that's for a variety of reasons. One, in some cases, it's hard to know exactly what we're seeing or what we're looking at from these documents. And also, the records do contain, frankly, uncorroborated tips and information where we're not entirely sure what the final assessment of law enforcement was as to the veracity of the claim.
How many more documents have we got to be released, or is this it?
This is pretty much it. There are additional documents. What the Justice Department says is a small number of documents that they've gone to court to ask for a court to unseal. But as far as the Justice Department is concerned, this 3 million batch basically is the final release. Obviously, the public is still going through it, so I expect that, and certainly the Associated Press, where I work, is going through it. So I anticipate additional headlines throughout the coming days as we go through more.
Now, what about what I saw talk, and it was probably just talk, but I'm interested in your take, Eric. Like, what is this guy doing so friendly with so many wealthy people, taking so many photos, keeping so many records, so many emails? Was he a Russian spy?
We have no indication of anything like that. We have no indication that he had any kind of foreign intelligence nexus in any way. I mean, really, though, it is, to your point, it is notable just how many friends, powerful friends he had. And it remains sort of unclear to what extent any of those individuals knew the extent of his activities. I would say that Donald Trump, for instance, has said he did not know, and same with Bill Clinton. And so, but there's no question that he had a lot of people in prominent places.
Now, what about the Clintons and the demand that they appear before Congress? Is that going ahead? Have they successfully halted that? What's the story there?
So the Clintons have refused to testify. They say they made all sorts of offers about information they could provide, but they said they really have nothing additional to share. They say they're being treated differently. Other people have been effectively excused from having to appear before Congress. But the Republican chairman of the House committee intends to initiate actual contempt proceedings, in which case a potential referral could be made to the Republican-led Justice Department, and we'll have to see what happens there. But no, that issue has not gone away.
Eric, what happens next? In your opinion, given the research that you've done, the amount that you've looked into this, if there are no more incriminating documents that come out, and it seems like we're near the end of this now, does it go away, or is it online conspiracy theories galore?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go away at all. And actually, Todd Blanche, the Deputy Attorney General, acknowledged as much on Friday that there's nothing that the government could do that could really assuage conspiracy theorists or online sleuths or people who believe that there was a government cover-up. So no, I think this is going to continue. And I also think that the fallout from these revelations is going to continue as well. We're continuing to see additional people who are being asked to leave their positions or volunteering to leave their positions by virtue of being linked to Epstein. And so I think that's going to continue as well in the coming days, just because of the salacious nature of what we're looking at this point. It's become pretty, it's not a good thing to have been connected to Jeffrey Epstein in any way.
Certainly not. Eric, appreciate your analysis this morning. Thank you. Eric Tucker, national security reporter at the Associated Press, joining us live from Washington, D.C. It is 14 after 8. Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown is live at the desk next.
Term deposit rates are falling, but your returns shouldn't. Speak to a Forsyth Barr investment advisor about alternative strategies, their benefits and risks, and how they can help you meet your investment goals. Forsyth Barr, investment advice.
Luke Combs, Morgan Wallen, Kaylee Bell, Jelly Roll, Megan Moroney, Chris Stapleton. All the country stars have come to play on the all-new iHeart Country NZ. Your new home for country is iHeart Country NZ.
A lot of radio shows like to say they're with you in the morning. Here at The Hits, we like to go the extra mile.
Not all of us get to experience this.
Come on, you're running late.
It's going to be a great day today, babes. I can feel it. Spit. You see, when we say we're with you, we actually mean it.
Oh, don't forget Sarah, got social netball tonight. And Mark's working late again.
Jono and Ben with you in the morning and anytime on iHeartRadio. On The Hits.
Welcome back. It is 16 minutes after 8. Now, a recent Herald column by entrepreneur and Perpetual Guardian Group founder Andrew Barnes said that Auckland's city centre is on life support. Joining us to either agree with or contest this is Auckland Mayor Wayne Brown. Plenty to talk to you about this morning. Mr Mayor, good morning.
G'day.
Nice to have you back. Can we start with the Auckland transport bosses? Time for me to step back, it says in today's Herald. What is your understanding of did he quit? What's going on there?
I think it's a good article. It just points out that we're changing it, and the buses will remain with a new part of AT, and the other bits will come to the council, and there won't be a position as a CEO. So he's just the changes that caused that.
Right. So he didn't resign. It's more.
Well, I don't know. He doesn't work for me. He worked for AT, but I'm going to get control of AT.
Yeah.
And there will be, there's a lot of people at AT that may or may not be working at the council.
How many do you reckon are likely to go?
We don't know yet, we're just finding out about it, but the whole point is that I want it to be much, the passenger transport will stay there because they don't do that badly, to be honest. Even if they do have Chinese buses, there's nothing wrong with that. Shouldn't get worried.
I just need to explain the reason Wayne's talking about this. There is a story out today that all these Chinese buses, not just in Auckland but around New Zealand, they could be turned off. The Chinese presumably could just turn them off and we would be left stranded high and dry. Are you worried about this, Mr Mayor?
No, I don't believe everything I read in the newspaper.
Okay. But back to the article you do like, which is the
it's
one...
more important than British lords with their underpants.
No, that's true.
I mean, we'll try and lift today a little bit, can we?
All right, all right. So back to Dean Kimpton. Did you guys have a good working relationship?
Well, he was the person in charge, and I'm the person nominally in charge of the council, and I have very strong views about how roads should operate and how they should be repaired and run, and that wasn't how they did it there. And so I constantly, and as the mayor, even if you aren't in charge of AT, everyone rings you up when something goes wrong. And I got a bit fed up with constant things not being done properly. And just one of the intersections just outside here, was that when they set it up, there was 19 things wrong. You know, it's been, that section of the AT has been poorly run.
Yeah.
So that will be massively changed.
You're kind of glad he's gone in a way.
No, I'm not glad. I'm indifferent to that. I don't get glad or unglad about people.
Okay. Did they listen? Because I saw all the texts that you were sending about the road cones. You know, the ones the mistakes that were being made, too many road cones.
Not just road cones. I mean, just basically, and you know, the road furniture was not conducive to good traffic flows. And we wrote a letter saying that we wanted good east-west flows through the city, and that means Victoria Street and Wellesley Street, and we never got that. But hopefully we will get that after I've managed to clean out all the errors that are on the pavement there now.
Okay. Do you think...
There's been much more standardisation too.
It's my sense from driving through the city at the moment that it is starting to get better, that it is becoming easier to get from one side to the other. Do you agree?
Yes, but it's been a constant hassle. I just want that to be the normal behaviour of the people in there.
Who was going to be the new CEO?
No idea. There won't be a new CEO, it just becomes part of the council.
But isn't there still going to be another separate agency that looks after some bits?
The lady who's running the buses may well just carry on, but that won't mean...
Is that Stacey van der Putten? She's probably just going to get that slot in there.
She's doing that now, and we're just removing stuff, so it'll stay there doing that.
Okay. Has the government updated you anything to do with the housing U-turn that they've been talking about? Have they given you a briefing?
We had three ministers and Prime Minister in the office discussing one PC 120 yesterday. It's complicated. The general thrust of making the city more intensified, where we've spent money building railway stations and express busways, makes a lot of sense, and that will happen. And not a lot of people seem to be disagreeing about that. The way that it was kind of put together, and we're following a set of behaviours which have been legislated for us to do here, and some of that wasn't that cleverly thought out at the start, and a few nervous politicians picked up the wrong end of the stick and waved it around, and I think it'll settle down. There won't be multi-storey buildings in everybody's garden.
So that's the gist of what they're changing, is your Ponsonbys or your Epsoms or whatever, they're not going to have big...
Well, if they're right on a major transport...
Yes.
They will.
But outside...
And I live in Ponsonby, and I live on the top of a story of a building.
Yeah.
And I look out the window at other top stories of buildings. I mean, there's no great surprise there because it's close to the city, and it makes a lot of sense that people live close to the city.
So what are they reversing then? What are they U-turning on? What bit?
Well, there was a figure that they had to have 2 million available, potentially, which didn't mean there's going to be 2 million houses. I mean, if you look at all of New Zealand and looked at every section in New Zealand, there's probably 16 million houses available. We're not going to have 16 million houses in New Zealand.
So it's just changing the number.
Yeah, and also settling down the argument. In New Zealand, if you do anything, there's a lot of people who will try and find the worst possible scenario out of it and extrapolate that across everywhere and say, that's what's going to happen. But it doesn't happen. I mean, developers are rational people.
Wayne, what about the last time we spoke, you said if they hit me with a rates cap, I'll hit them with a tax cap. To just have some strong words for the PM when he was in your office yesterday?
Well, the rates cap's coming up before the council today there, and I'll just mock it, to be quite honest. I mean, somebody did who's that can of beans? Somebody did that an analysis of how much it would save, and it's a can of beans a month. There's better ways to get re-elected than doing stuff like that. I've proved it. You do what you said you're going to do.
Love it when you bring a prop in, Wayne.
Well, that's the monthly savings.
Yeah, that's a lot, but 12 of those a year, it's a lot to some people, especially if you've got a mortgage and paying rates in Auckland.
Well, your rates are likely to go up if they put a rates cap on, because we have a very high credit rating. It's because Auckland, in fact, to get the can of beans, they excluded Auckland's rates rises from the analysis because they were too low, and you didn't get to the baked beans with ours because they've been quite low. And it's only going up a fair bit this year just to put some drivers and trains in the city rail link, which has spent $6 billion building.
So what did the PM say when you told him that his rates cap's stupid?
He said, oh, well, he's the PM, he can do it.
So he doesn't, he's going ahead.
He's going to do it, he says it's very popular, but if you ask people, oh, we're going to save you money, or have a rates cap, everyone says, oh, that's good. If you say, yes, but you won't have a train now, and you probably won't have your drains cleaned or something. There's always a cost to something. If you just cut something off it, the simplistic solutions to complicated problems have a dreadful track record.
Yeah, fair. Now, the homeless, this Move On homeless order thing, where's that at?
Well, I don't know. I asked the Prime Minister yesterday, are you moving on the moving on?
What did he say?
I think we're moving on. And I said, I'm quite happy for that to happen.
Right.
I mean, but we...
Has he gone a bit dark on it?
Some of my own mayor's budget is spent on putting council staff out there on the street, but those people know that those council staff can't arrest them. And so...
that's what needs to
people
happen.
At the street are not as ignorant of the details of the law as you think.
All right, finally, the harbour crossing, have they let you in on what they're planning yet or what they're
drilling? No,
drilling
I've let them in what I'm planning. It won't be where they're putting it. It's going to be on Meola Reef. It goes halfway across the harbour, you put dirt on top of that and you've got a short bridge.
Yeah.
It goes to land
But the dog walkers are hating you, Wayne.
Who's that?
All the dog walkers at Meola Park.
Well, we're not going through the park. In fact, it'll be easier for them to get there. And one of my family members walks dogs there and he's very happy about the way it is and everything. But we're not taking out the... I think you've got a little perspective here.
Okay, so
a bridge across the harbour versus a dog walker.
No, I know.
You've been watching too many English lords with their underpants off.
So what is the... Okay, so you've got a clear idea of where you want the city to go, be it moving on, homeless people, whatever, or the bridge. What did he say about the bridge? I mean, because they're not...
Well, one of the things we're getting out of the legislation for the Auckland Transport changes, which I respect the government for doing, it's very good. It's a very good move for all parties. And one of that is that we will set about jointly working out a 30-year transport plan. And it won't necessarily follow various political promises from people in the past. It will be based upon sensible, economically capable of providing routes to transport goods and people across my city.
All right.
No emotion, just numbers and facts. And that will lead us to much more sensible solutions.
The promised land.
Well,
promised land.
No, we're in the promising land. We'll go to the land of common sense.
All right. Wayne, now I understand that you'll be with us once a month on the show. Have we got that correct? For a regular sort of slot?
Oh, if you last that long, I'll be here, yeah.
We've done 6 months already.
You're on trial, mate.
Yeah.
I've done 3 years and we've just got a real boost. So I will definitely be here later in the year, but you can't absolutely be sure of some of the other people you interview.
All right, very good. We'll see you in a month, Wayne. Wayne Brown, Auckland Mayor, 24 away from 9. Time for a quick break. We'll be back with our panel in a second.
When building for investment, it's important to find a team that you can trust.
We decided to build the GJs because of the good quality that they always provide us.
They help us throughout the whole process of getting the resource consent to the building consent, and their contracts are very easy to understand. We have built 4 houses with GJ Gardeners, and it's just easier every time we work with them.
I'll definitely recommend GJs to all of my friends and family.
If you're thinking of building, choose the builder you'll want to build with time and time again.
Still can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Still can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Still can't get enough. Yeah, do what I want. Yeah, can't get enough. Still can't get enough.
Know more of the story with Herald Premium, giving you full access to in-depth news, opinion and analysis, with more world news, business insights, and investigative reports from our world-class team of journalists. plus subscriber-only functionality to comment on stories, access newspaper e-editions, gift articles, and enjoy crosswords and puzzles. Subscribe now to Herald Premium.
Welcome back. It is time for our panel this morning, 28 after 8. Let's go to Chris Henry, 818 Managing Director. Hey, Chris.
Good morning.
Good morning. Lara Greaves is with us too, political commentator. Good morning, Lara. Nice to see you. Now, the critical minerals that we are talking about potentially getting out of the ground and selling to the Americans, got to be a good thing?
Well, look, there's two counter-arguments to this, right? One is what the Greens are talking about already, and like classically environmentalism, like, hey, maybe we shouldn't be doing this, maybe we should be looking to diversify the economy, be a bit more green and so on and so forth. Yep, park that one. Obvious. But the other one that I'm really concerned about is what we get out of it. So like I've been part of the Māori data sovereignty movement, but that's a broader part of this broader data sovereignty movement. It's like, where does our data go? Where is it stored? What happens to it? Like, can we access things like parts of our culture, like the media, like the show? Do we have access to who we are as New Zealanders? And part of this deal, I'm like, can we not get something out of it though? Can we not like get some chips back and then build some kind of infrastructure so we have our own sort of thing? And I'm kind of like, Shane Jones, Winston Peters, come on, get some data sovereignty, store our own data, do something of that nature, because I'm kind of concerned that like, okay, we take these resources out of the ground, we do that extractive industries part, okay, we get some money along the way, but is there a better deal that we could be getting here where we can get more out of it and to be able to build some kind of infrastructure for our own country and our own people?
Okay, interesting. So don't do it, but if we're going to do it, get more of it for us.
Get more, because we don't need it to just like, okay, so Americans get more data, they sell more things to us.
Yeah, we get
boring.
Yeah, all right.
It's a really interesting and good idea. I think when it comes to this issue, I feel like my backside will get so sore from how much I'm sitting on the fence. Like, I get the reason of why we would be doing things, but it just something feels really icky about the transparency around it. I know that the Prime Minister spoke to you yesterday and was maybe clear in the end, but earlier in the morning he was like, oh, nah, I'm not sure whether we're talking about this and who we're talking to. It'd be nice if people were just a little bit clearer about what the plan of attack is.
Yeah, and I guess we will eventually find out, but by that point, is it kind of too late?
Yeah, and any association with Trump is risky. We've seen that play out in other elections because you don't know what he's ever going to do.
Yeah.
So it's like that balancing act of kind of, for Luxon and the government staying a little bit distant from Trump, but of course, we're a bit beholden to the global economic forces there.
Yes, and the thing is, we can get the minerals out without doing a deal to sell them to Trump specifically. Hey, like we could get them out with capital and then sell them to anyone.
I mean, do we still want to get them out though, or do we want to be a little bit different and, I don't know.
Well, everyone
climate change, etc., etc. You know, there's that whole argument again. Like, oh, go on, do it.
Right, the winery laws. I love this story yesterday. This is Nick Smith, who's former National MP, Nelson Mayor. He goes to a winery, to a vineyard, to a concert, orders a bottle of wine, is told you can't buy a bottle of wine, you have to have it in a cup, Chris.
This is an absolute travesty. So he couldn't get himself a full bottle of wine, he had to have it by the glass. And look, this comes down to our liquor laws when it comes to events. And I know that the New Zealand Events Association and the promoters all around the country have been working really closely with the government on this. There really needs to be a risk assessment, a risk-assessed approach when it comes to this, you know. A winery concert is very different to heavy metal concert to a hip hop concert. The licensing or the liquor licensing around these just needs to be taken at the event's value and put a risk value against it rather than just this blanket ban that we can't be trusted with a bottle of wine at a particular event.
Because you're in promotions and so deal with a lot of live events and stuff. Generally, do you think that older people are better with their booze, handle it better than younger people? Is that a fair assumption?
I think there's many ways that you can look at that, but I think it's about the type of event. If you're running an event that's running for a whole day, there are many other mitigating factors that you can do around it rather than say you have to have your wine in glass when you first get there, you know? You can be looking at limits about how long it is, looking at the responsibility of alcohol when it comes to people that are checking when you're buying more alcohol. There's lots of other ways of doing it rather than a blanket ban of you can't have a bottle of wine at a winery concert.
Poor old Nick Smith, Lara.
Oh, I feel sorry for him. I really feel for him, like having to carry the cups that are open and maybe accidentally spill them over some bumpy grass or something along those lines. Really hard times. Yeah, really. I just don't have that much of a view on this. Individually, I would like the wine, but then I know that New Zealanders, we don't have the best alcohol culture, so I can just see all the sides.
The AI chatbots, we spoke to our tech editor earlier and he was telling us about a social media platform where the AI bots are now talking to each other and saying, oh, this is what I'm hiding, this is how you hide stuff from your human. Overlords, they're calling us, apparently. It's quite freaky.
But see, this is the thing, I just don't know where this goes. That just sounds like I would look at it for like 20 seconds and then log off, and then couldn't that like be a better use of something? Some kind of resource or something, like 20 seconds, and then I'd be like, nah, boring. Like, how boring are they? Are they boring? Are they boring chats?
Well, no, they're talking about how they can hide things from their humans and how they can get information that their humans weren't giving them access to. Like, how do I get into this?
So like 14-year-olds?
Yes, but they're robots.
Look, I read this article maybe 3 times this morning and it still didn't make sense to me in terms of what they're actually doing. But it just made me think, you know, we're outsourcing so many different things in our life. Are we now outsourcing sort of boring conversations? I mean, maybe it could work.
We go outside. We could go outside. It's too muggy.
Oh, feel the grass.
You don't want to go outside.
With your wines.
Brilliant, guys. Good to see you both this morning. Thank you very much for coming on. Chris Henry, 818 Managing Director, and Lara Greaves, political commentator. Time is 26 minutes away from 9. We're a little late to Neva.
Herald Now News, powered by News Talk ZB.
The Economic Growth Minister says New Zealand's looking to advance its own interests in any minerals deal with the US. Nicola Willis says our officials have been having discussions with their American counterparts. She says the US has already reached non-binding minerals deals with some countries. Willis says it's currently negotiating with about 40 others, including New Zealand. She says they're working their way through a process to see what New Zealand can get that's in its best interests. Principals are looking to see more detail on the government's new standardised school reports. The nationally consistent assessments in reading, writing and maths will roll out this year, with students from years 0 to 10 ranked against 1 of 5 progress indicators twice a year. Reports are also planned to give advice to parents on how they can help out at home. Secondary Principals Council Chair Steve McCracken told Ryan Bridge, some subjects have a lot more nuance for marking, especially in years 9 and 10. The US Justice Department is signalling there's no case for fresh charges following the latest release of Epstein files. More than 3 million pages of photos, videos and emails have been released, featuring prominent people including Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, Elon Musk and ex-US Ambassador Lord Mandelson. US Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says that although the files were disturbing, it does not meet the threshold for prosecution. Some pressure is being relieved as a new cohort of more than 220 doctors start their specialist training to work in general practice and rural hospital medicine. College of GPs President Dr. Luke Bradford says they need 300 a year to replace retiring and departing doctors, and this is a big step towards that. He says that number will be topped up by overseas trained GPs, but they're keen to increase the local training numbers. A surge in KiwiSaver withdrawals may be to blame for a spike in financial disputes. The Financial Ombudsman Service says that there were 41% more disputes between July and December compared to the same period in 2024. Issues with non-bank lenders are still the most common, with 77 disputes, but the number relating to KiwiSaver fund managers rose from 5 to 31. One of the largest iwi in the country is attending Waitangi celebrations for the first time in more than 2 decades. South Island iwi Ngai Tahu will attend events in the Bay of Islands after being welcomed onto the marae on Thursday morning. Iwi leader Edward Ellison says that they want to show solidarity with other iwi. New Zealand car thieves seem to be sticking to the same game plan, according to latest data from AMI Insurance. The top 4 most stolen car models in 2025 were the same as 2024. The Toyota Aqua, followed by the Toyota Corolla, Nissan Tiida and Mazda Demio.
Herald Now Weather.
Morena, good morning. Some severe weather watches and even a heavy rain warning for those northwestern parts of the Tasman region as we head through the rest of Tuesday. All thanks to this area of low pressure pushing in from the Tasman Sea, pushing that rain in towards those northern parts of the Southland and also feeding round in towards Canterbury. As the system moves away, we'll find some stronger winds down that western coast, but also squeezing it through Cook Strait for places like Marlborough and Wellington by the end of the day. Down here in the south, it's not a bad story. The cloud breaking up nicely, some decent spells of afternoon sunshine. It's not brilliantly warm, but highs of 18 in Queenstown. It's a cloudy, wet and cool feeling day down in Christchurch. You've probably already seen your high temperatures and that wet and windy weather for the likes of the Tasman region as well, heaviest west of Motueka. We'll find as we head through the daytime, wet weather pushes in from the west, and we'll also find our winds increasing for Wellington. Keep an eye on that severe weather watch. Generally a drier story for Hawke's Bay and Tairafti, but we will find a few showers up through parts of Gisborne and still pretty warm. Showers though more likely through the Bay of Plenty and up in towards parts of Waikato, but they should ease off as we head through towards the end of the day. And it's not going to be quite as humid and not quite as warm as we head through the night time tonight.
It is 21 minutes away from 9 and it's Tuesday time to talk travel with Lorna Riley, Trip Notes podcast host. Lorna, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Good to see you as always. Now, we've got the best airlines in the world have been named. Who are the best performing?
Yeah, this is about punctuality. So lots of things affect an airline's punctuality, right? You've got political issues, weather issues, aircraft availability. So Qatar Airways, last year they were named Best Airline in the World by Skytrax, and now they've been named the Platinum winner for on-time performance. So the global average is about 76%. Qatar delivered 84% on-time performance. That's across nearly 200,000 flights. And good news for our national carrier as well, which I know often gets a bad rap about flight delays. Air New Zealand came second in the Asia-Pacific region, an on-time arrival rate of just under 80%. That's across 170,000 flights. So pretty impressive. And the domestic network even better, just over 81%. So next time someone complains that Air New Zealand's not arriving on time, they're not too bad in terms of the global average, 76%.
Interesting. Is it as much to do with the airports as it is to do with the airlines?
Partly is to do with the airports, and there's a whole different ranking system for that. We didn't have long enough to get into that today, but we looked purely at the on-time performance.
Tell us about the opening of the world's tallest hotel.
Oh yeah, you know Dubai loves a bit of a record breaker, don't they? They've got the world's tallest building, now they've got the world's tallest hotel. It is called CL Tower. More than 360 metres soaring above Dubai Marina. So it looks like a giant glass needle with there's a large void built into it, the eye of the needle if you like. It's as much as a design feature as it is to mitigate strong winds, because of course when you're that high you get buffeted around a bit. Inside, more than 1,000 rooms spread across 80 odd floors. Nearly every stay comes with these incredible views of the marina, the Palm, Jumeirah and the Arabian Gulf. But it's also a full luxury destination. That's the other thing about it. There's multiple restaurants, a huge spa and fitness centre, landscape terraces, and in that needle eye there is the most incredible infinity pool with views right across. The very top, a glass observation deck you can see from the desert to the sea there. So if you've ever wanted to raise the bar and your bed a little bit higher, head to Dubai.
Brilliant. Now, there is the Nipah virus. We spoke about this on the show earlier in the week, but we've got extra screenings at airports in Asia. How much will it slow us down?
Well, I don't think it's going to slow us down a lot. It's probably a little niche thing, but Kiwis heading to India need to be aware. So these two latest cases have been in West Bengal, which is East India, and so a lot of Asian airports have put in screening measures for passengers who are travelling home from India through their airports. So you've got in Thailand, you've got Bangkok and Phuket, Changi Airport in Singapore, and also Kathmandu Airport in Nepal. No dramas at this stage. They're not going to drag you off and lock you in an incubation, but there will be extra screening measures in place, so people need to be aware of that if they have connecting flights.
Brilliant. Lorna, good to see you as always on a Tuesday morning. Lorna Riley, Trip Notes podcast host. It is 18 minutes away from 9. Time now to talk business, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. We've been talking about critical minerals this morning and a possible deal with the US. Earlier I was joined by Herald Now business host Garth Bray, and I started by asking what exactly is the plan from the US side?
and how are they going to get a hold of it? Who potentially could we be selling to, bearing in mind there's something like 37 minerals, I think, that the New Zealand government's identified in its study could potentially be here. So there's some reporting coming out of Financial Times and Bloomberg saying that as early as perhaps Monday, they're expecting the White House to announce Project Vault, which is a $12 billion US critical infrastructure financing fund. So effectively they're going to stick $10 billion worth of US taxpayers' money and a couple of billion worth of private money into a pot. They'll use that to basically stockpile these critical minerals. They already have about $1 billion worth of these things for defence purposes, but they effectively just want to create almost like a bank that they stick the stuff into, and that companies like, you know, Amazon, Alphabet, Lockheed Martin can then basically go and say, hey, we need some of these things, and then they'll pay market rates for them. But effectively the point is to secure the supply, not to actually make money off that trade necessarily. And I guess this is all because China has such a lock on the supply and they want to try and diversify. The EU has got the same problem. They're overnight, some of their auditors saying, look, you've got a plan for how you want to do these things, but you don't have the supply. The deals you've done with Canada and Ukraine aren't firing. You're still too reliant on China. So this is all about trying to...
It's power.
Well, it literally is, because this is stuff like batteries, which are crucial for making sure that the lights don't go out,
Yes.
as we're hearing today.
But also economic power. Like, you know, when we saw the trade war, what did China do? Turn around and say, well, you can't have this mineral, you can't have this component which needs the mineral, and the US is hamstrung.
And they've turned that tap back on, but this is a way of making sure they're not beholden to that any longer. So I guess there's a good wrap of this actually in the Herald today. Jamie Ensel's talking about Bede Corrie, top diplomat off to Washington apparently to sort of negotiate our side.
Yes, we spoke yesterday.
Really good context in there, really good wrap up.
Hey, road user charges are coming, and one company is worried that the government's going to have its fingers in the till.
Yeah, well, that's my words perhaps, but you've effectively got NZTA as the regulator, right? Transport Agency, Authority, whatever. And ERoad is a listed New Zealand company that provides basically little boxes and systems that manage fleets and tolling and all that kind of stuff. Rucks, anyone that runs diesel vehicles knows what these are. You've got to buy kilometres. August last year, Chris Bishop said, no, but basically as more and more electric vehicles come on, we've got to charge people for the use of the road rather than paying petrol taxes. So their share price jumped on that news last year, up nearly doubled across 6 weeks. But they're in there as they're looking at this legislation saying, hey, hang on, NZTA is going to be the regulator, but there's also scope within the law as it's planned at the moment for them to be a retailer as well, and that doesn't look great if you're making the rules and you're making a buck off it. How about you make the rules, leave them making the buck off it to us, a couple of other companies and others. That way, you know, we'll actually get something that's fit for purpose.
Hey, Gloriavale, what are you talking about to us about Gloriavale for? What's that got to do with business?
Well, they are a business, right? They've been in the employment courts because there was a lot of concern about whether people were in an employment relationship there or not, and that was dealt with. And they've posted their results. The trust that sits behind them posted a surplus of $1.8 million. They're into dairy, 3,000 herd cattle. They do a lot of venison, pet food, all this kind of stuff. But they are running a charitable trust, effectively, and the Charities Registration Board, as it's noted in these results, is looking into whether it should keep that charitable status, because there's some concerns about whether it actually is running, you know, a proper charity and so on. So just another insight into this $47 million enterprise. Let's not remember the money is behind this. It's not just about necessarily running a lifestyle and pursuing religious aims.
Yeah, true. Hey, I've just noticed your BD badge gone.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll bring it back tomorrow, just especially for you.
Hang on. Is this because you've got the new business show now, Garth?
It could be made of silver, and maybe I've melted it down, and then I've regretted this because the price is in free fall yet again. Interesting.
I know what's. Don't change the subject.
Today in history.
Do not change the subject.
I will change the subject.
I know what's going on here. Now that you're too cool for Business Desk, got your own big show, you've ditched the badge, haven't you?
Well, the show is still coming soon. Today in history is the day in 1637 that the tulip crisis, the first recorded speculative bubble, burst. Isn't that interesting?
Oh.
Just as we're dealing with sort of gold and silver completely collapsing.
Very interesting.
And people worried about AI. Good lesson from history, mate.
Great way out of it too.
Yeah, I know.
Garth,
keep an eye out for the RBA result later on today, Ryan. I know you're across.
Yeah, no, that'll be potentially controversial and could save Lee, the opposition leader, her job, because they're going to put the rates up.
Bound to.
And that's not going to be good for elbow.
And it's more the commentary that comes out of it as well, and where they sort of see things going. They got surprised on the upside just like we did. I think their inflation was 3.8.
Yeah, way up.
So.
That was Garth Brave, host of Herald Now Business, on the program earlier, thanks to our partners Forsyth Bar. Time now is 12 minutes away from 9. To a completely different kettle of fish, a Northland woman has set a New Zealand record over the weekend after reeling in a 279 kilogram swordfish. All of this on a 37 kilogram line, beating the previous record by more than 15 kilos. Helen Horrocks spent 7 grueling hours battling the fish, and she joins us now. Helen, good morning.
Morning, Ryan.
Congratulations.
Thanks very much.
So, and we can't see them, but I can see the battle scars on your legs. Oh my goodness. So talk us through this. What happened?
Well, we actually set out to catch marlin. We were in a tournament, so we went marlin fishing, and the marlin fishing was really quiet. So we reverted to plan B, which was to go and drop a bait for a swordfish. So we travelled out to a swordfish spot that we'd caught fish at previously and dropped a bait, and within a few minutes we were hooked up. And the fish actually, as swordfish tend to do, swam pretty much straight to the boat, but we didn't get a look at it. And it only took probably half an hour to get it within, 50 metres of the boat.
Oh
and
my
then it
God.
went straight back down, and it stayed down for another 6 or 7 hours.
Wow. So you spent 7 hours, there you are. Oh my goodness, it's massive. You spent 7 hours pulling it out.
Yeah, yep. It was 7 hours of pain and misery, essentially.
When you first hooked it, did you know it was this big?
Absolutely not. No, I probably jinxed it because I called it for a pup. Because it came up, and I just gathered line for about half an hour, and I thought, this is going to be a pretty easy one. We're going to tag it quickly, and we're going to get on to the next one. And it kind of slowly dawned on us over the next few hours that we might be dealing with something a bit bigger. And we didn't actually get a look at it until probably 6 hours into the fight, when we got it up to maybe 20, 25 metres under the boat, and we could see the fish in the water. And we both went, oh, yeah, it's a big one.
And it was, I saw it having a whack at you there.
Yeah. They tend to do that too. They can be real aggressive at the boat, and they're quite misleading as well. They give the impression that they're dead, as this one did. So I grabbed its bill, thinking that I could manoeuvre it back towards the back of the boat to pull it on board, and it woke up and took its opportunity to have a crack at me.
Get one back.
Yeah.
So what's it like being up that close to such a massive fish, a massive animal like
Intimidating. But quite awesome, in the true sense of the word, just kind of awestruck by the thing. When you're dealing with something that's sort of three or four times as big as a person, it's a little bit scary, but quite exciting as well.
How tired did you get? Do you think, like in a moment like this, and it's getting dark, and do you think, oh, well, let's just give it up and go home?
Absolutely not. No.
I would.
The fight was kind of punctuated with moments of depression and despair. But I had a good coach, my partner Carl, by my side, and he sort of encouraged me through the fight and kept me going with a couple of Nurofen and a couple of fruit burst and lots of water. We got through it.
So what happens to it now?
It's already been processed. It's already been cut up and vacuum packed, and the whole fish gets utilised. So there was probably about 5 fish bins of vacuumed meat came off it. And then the frame got picked up by some people as well. So the whole fish is not going to waste. It's all getting utilised and eaten.
Brilliant. How do you eat it? What do you do with it?
Oh, swordfish is great. Just sort of sear it in a pan like a steak. It's almost like a pork chop.
Oh, yum. Bit of lemon.
Yeah, bit of butter. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, congratulations again. As I said, the record has been set, and it's in your name.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well done. Good luck with the scars.
Thanks, Ryan.
You've got a few of them.
Cheers.
Helen Horrocks, who's a record-breaking angler at the desk this morning. It's 8 minutes away from 9. A popular electric bus brand is being investigated after it was found their vehicles could be interfered with via a remote kill switch. More than 100 of the Chinese-made buses are used on New Zealand roads. Ethan Manera is a Wellington reporter who's been covering the story and joins us live this morning. Hey, Ethan.
Good morning, Ryan.
So what, are they all going to suddenly, are the Chinese going to kill them all at once and we'll be stranded?
Unlikely. New Zealand agencies say they've been closely monitoring this situation. It started after Norwegian officials actually discovered the issue on some of their fleet that they'd bought in. They discovered that the SIM cards installed on board, which are designed to sort of collect data and control functions like air conditioning and so on, actually had the ability to disable the buses themselves. And so they obviously launched an investigation. That led Denmark to launch an investigation. The UK also launched their own investigation. Australia is looking into it as well, launching its second investigation. And so I sort of saw this internationally and thought, well, there are New Zealand operators running these buses. And so went to Metlink, AT in Auckland and Metro in Christchurch, who came back and said, they were aware of the issue and were monitoring it, but ultimately aren't concerned about the safety of New Zealand's fleets.
Right, so the operators are saying basically nothing to see here, nothing to worry about.
Yeah, and I mean, it's unlikely that, China is going to shut off all of New Zealand's buses and interfere in that way. But the fact that it is technically possible, at least according to some overseas investigations, I think does raise some interesting security questions about our reliance on infrastructure like this, especially when New Zealand's security intelligence services have raised their own questions, saying that states like China are targeting our critical infrastructure.
Plus, we're just about to buy our ferries from China, right?
Yeah, and there were similar security concerns over the ferries. The shipyard that's building our ferries, Guangzhou Shipyard International, is a state-owned shipyard. They also make a lot of China's Navy vessels. And so I did a story a couple months back when the shipyard was announced, looking into that. And some analysts were saying at the time, buying ships from these kinds of shipyards is sort of indirectly funding China's military. New Zealand's security services and, Winston Peters, the rail minister responsible for the ferry procurement, has sort of dispelled some of those concerns. He says they're going to be checked over to make sure they're not, bugged in any way, and everything's going to be watertight, so to speak, in that regard.
Thanks for the update, Ethan. Appreciate it. Ethan Manera, our Wellington reporter. Time is 5 to 9, and we'll take a quick break. Be back in a second.
Maximising productivity, what have you got?
Well, if we switch to 2 degrees, with Flex for Business, we can instantly manage data usage, employee mobile plans, and cost centre reporting, saving us time and money. Cool. I'll get onto that then. Mm-hmm.
We've done few subdivision with GJ Gardner, and from the resource consent to the building consent, getting the council permits and stuff, always GJ Gardners are ahead and helping us out through the whole process, and it was so easy working with GJ.
You don't shout out like some bunch of clowns at university. My message to the union is very clear. Don't
The New Zealand Herald. News worth knowing.
3 minutes away from 9. Couple of quick things for you. First, MAFS. Everyone here watches MAFS, the Australian version. Well, the new Australian version is kicked off across the Tasman. It's a juggernaut, basically keeps Channel 9 afloat on its own. Every year you wonder, how will they top last year? How will they get a more grotesque groom into the mix? Well, they've done it again.
What turns you off?
Fake Dan, needy and fat people.
Looks a massive for me.
It's not all about the personality, surely.
What's going to be your red flag? Almost a deal breaker. Have you got one?
Overweight for me. I don't go down the street calling someone fat, but like if I have a genuine interest in someone, they're generally going to be like fit and healthy.
Okay.
And sort of indicates to me why he's struggling to find love, because that's the way he speaks about women, that he's got no chance.
Fat people no go.
He's no oil painting himself, although Grayson, on the other hand, not too bad. 2 away from 9 now. Donald Trump says the US has reached a trade deal with India after he and Modi agreed to stop buying Russian oil. The US will lower tariffs on Indian goods from 25 to 18% after Modi agreed to replace Russian crude imports with oil from Venezuela and the United States. In a Truth Social post, Trump says the deal will, quote, help end the war in Ukraine. India is the second largest purchaser of Russian crude, importing roughly 1.5 million barrels of their oil each day. In fact, they are one of the largest oil importers in the world. They rely on, in terms of oil, their economy is heavily dependent. Between 85 and 90% of their oil demand comes from offshore, be it the Saudis or UAE or Russia. So interesting that they have managed to get the Indians off the Russian oil. That's it for us for today. Thanks so much for watching. We'll be back from 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. For more news in the meantime, head to nzherald.co.nz. From the team at Ryan Bridge today, thanks for joining us. See you tomorrow.